Okay. It's possible, but not likely. If you want to posit a designer, posit a bad designer. This is a flounder, and it starts out as a nice symmetrical fish and ends up with its eyes being mushed all over on one side. That's terrific design. Next, please. This is choking. This is another example of great design. Our air passages and food passages cross in the back of the throat. This is a designer who plans, apparently, on 60,000 people a year dying of tracheal obstruction. And this is a designer who will create snoring and apnea in us older folks. Next, please. Snakes can do it just fine. So good design is possible. Next. And here's one for all you guys. This is the male reproductive system, the epitome of bad design. All of you 50 years and up are going to be coping with the fact that one day your prostate gland, poorly designed because it's got tubes running through it, is going to enlarge. This prostate gland is going to push back on the urinary bladder, and you're going to go get a prostate operation. That is really the ultimate of great design, wouldn't you say? Next, please. Design spills over into is someone a female or a male. And sometimes things go wrong because we are designed with both female and male systems in our bodies as embryos. Here's an example of something that can go wrong in design. These are four brothers. They have androgen insufficiency. Because their testosterone was unable to park anywhere in their bodies, they went on and developed the default or female body. So yeah, I'm all for great design, and I haven't even started to talk about bad backs or giving birth or anything like that. If you could go back to 64, please, Bob. If we take time to consider biology, we come up with a bumbling and frivolous God. Organisms show stupid mistakes, dysfunctional design features, and odd arrangements and funny solutions are proofs of evolution.
I am very baffled by how the concept of bad design can be evidence against creation. I would like to see you invent a machine as a computer program. Let's take a computer program. You get a program that can make a copy of itself, and then that copy make a copy of itself, and then that copy make a copy of itself. After the 50,000th copy, and it still runs. I would say the original copy was a really good design. Now, I don't know what Adam was like. He lived to be 930 according to the Bible, and I doubt that he had prostate trouble. I think prostate trouble is a nutritional deficiency, and you can't blame that on bad design. I think an awful lot of people past 50 do not have prostate trouble, and I think you can talk to any nutritionist and find out it's pretty simple to prevent that from happening. That's like finding a smashed car and saying, wow, look at this bad design. Well, it got in a wreck. Okay? So I think the design that we see is just very obvious in nature. I've had evolutionists tell me the eye is poorly designed because the blood vessels are in front. Well, we need them in front to block the UV light. Be glad to talk about that sometime. No, poor design is not proof of evolution.
One-third of men will develop prostate trouble. Why don't you give some evidence that shows that the layer of dust on the moon proves the moon is less than 10,000 years old?
I did not get time to make a slide on this, though I have the evidence. Here is a book which we have in our ministry, In the Beginning, by Walt Brown, with a very extensive section about the testing of the dust on the moon. That was one of the arguments you brought up. Isaac Asimov said, I get a picture, therefore, of the first spaceship picking out a nice level place for landing purposes, coming in slowly downward, tail first, and sinking majestically out of sight. Isaac Asimov, 14 million tons of dust per year, Science Digest, 1959, before they went to the moon. 1956, Raymond Littleton, in The Modern Universe, from New York, Harper and Brothers, said Littleton felt that the dust formed by only the erosion of exposed moon rocks by ultraviolet light and X-rays could, during the age of the moon, be sufficient to form a layer over it several miles deep of dust. So Littleton predicted in 1956. Thomas Gold proposed that thick layers of dust accumulate in the lunar maria, the lunar surface, again from monthly notices of the Royal Astronomical Society of London, 1955. I can go on and on with quotes, but as far as the amount of moon dust that does come in, there's a very technical journal here, the technical notes on the moon dust, how much has been measured, and I'll be glad to make a copy and send this to you. I should have thought of that ahead of time. It's been a busy week. Herbert Zook of NASA was the man from U.S. National Aeronautics and Space Administration, had been intimately involved in estimating the thickness of the dust layer on the moon before the first Apollo moon landing. He helped analyze the lunar material brought back from the moon. Of the many interesting things he told me and sent me by mail, one is critical in answering the above question. NASA did not realize until the moon and dust rocks were analyzed that only 1 part in 67, 1.5%, of the debris of the moon came from outer space. The rest was pulverized moon rock. So 1% comes from outer space. So you've got an even more serious problem if the dust layer was only about a ½ inch thick. And you can listen to the entire conversation available from NASA, or I've got it at home, of the guys when they landed on the moon, the first hour and a half conversation. A lot of the conversation was about, where's all the dust? I talked to the man who created the backpack that Armstrong was carrying. He said, Mr. Hovind, he lives in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. He said, I was instructed to make the backpack dust-proof because NASA still seriously was worried about him sinking into the dust. They thought it would be a serious problem. You can take a look at the pictures and see the large lunar modules. What happened in 1972, after they'd been to the moon quite a few times, somebody revised the calculations of how much dust should be accumulating on the moon. But the technical notes I have here, which would take a long time to go through, indicate in 4.6 billion years, figuring in a factor of 67 to 1, which is the amount that's actually found there, the dust layer would be 1,033 feet deep. If the moon were, and I'll be glad to send you all this stuff. If you'd like this book's available, and it's none of my stuff's copyrighted, you can copy it and send it back, get your money back, and I'll have the book. Thank you.
Well, I have your quotation out of your seminar notebook, at least part of it. You talk about a 1954 measurement, and I don't know where you got the other ones or what they were doing. We did have a space program in between time. The typical citation is from a 1960 paper of dust coming on Mauna Kea or something like that. Now, if you can flip to the next one, the real rate of dust accumulation is way lower than that. And the upper limit on the amount of dust would have been possibly in the area of 10 centimeters high. You find one